Hey friends, we are doing a Q&A session right meow. I've had a lot of you request that I do a Q&A video, and that's what this is. Now, I couldn't get to all the questions that you all asked, but I'm going to get to the majority of them. And these questions will range from some personal questions about me, so you can kind of get to know me a little bit better, to personal finance questions, to investing questions, to questions about motivation and things like that. So please stick around, and also Hulk smash that thumbs up button. Leave any comments down below. I'd love to hear some feedback on any of these questions, or you can ask any questions that you have for future Q&A videos that I shall do if you like it. First up is a non-personal finance related question. I've heard this question so many times. What famous person do a lot of people say that you look like? I've been told this for years, and I used to get told by customers all the time when I worked in the restaurant industry as a server. I've been told that I look exactly like Jake Gyllenhaal. I hope that's a good thing. I don't know. Either way, I just roll with it. How did you get started with personal finance? So my personal finance journey started essentially by being in debt. I had $82,000 in debt, $70,000 in student loans, $10,000 car loan, $2,000 credit card debt, and I paid it all off in 4 years. So I began by learning from Dave Ramsey, and he kind of taught me the basics. And then as I started digging deeper into the personal finance and investing space, I realized very quickly that Dave Ramsey's way isn't the only way. And that got me excited. I was like, well, what other kind of ways are out there? So that's kind of how I got involved in this. And then I made a video about how I paid off my debts in 4 years on YouTube. It semi blew up. And I decided to make some more videos about personal finance because I enjoy talking about the topic and educating on the topic. Yeah, I guess people keep watching for whatever reason. What are your thoughts on relocating to a lower cost of living city to achieve financial independence or financial freedom, possibly decrease in salary, but then again, not really? For example, moving from New York City, where we pay city and state taxes, to Texas, where they don't pay city and state taxes, so I would see more of my net pay. I would do it. I think if you live in a very high cost of living area and it makes sense to move to a lower cost of living area, for sure do it. That would speed up your process to financial independence or financial freedom. I don't think you have to stay where you were born. I think a lot of people should expand their life by going out and seeing what it's like to live in different states and different cities and get out of that bubble that you grow up in. Yes, you can make a lot more money by essentially switching companies that you work for, especially going to a different state. Because that's where you usually make the most money, is what I've seen, is when you switch employers that you work for, you make your biggest salary level jumps, if you will, by doing that. I know that all the new companies I've gone and worked for, every time I've switched companies, I've had a salary increase of at least $10,000. So I think it's always good to switch employers to make sure that you're continuing to level yourself up. Nowadays, it doesn't make sense to be loyal to one particular employer for the rest of your life like our parents were, because they'll get rid of us as quickly as we'll get rid of them. So there's no more loyalty when it comes to staying with an employer for long periods of time anymore. We don't have pensions like our parents or older folks did, so feel free to hop jobs and hopefully into a different state, and hopefully a lower cost of living state if you can. I've mentioned this before, but if you want to get an idea of what the cost of living is for any particular city in the United States, go to a website called bestplaces.net, search for the city you want to live in or you want to move to potentially, and look up the cost of living. It rates each city on a scale of 100. So 100 is the US average. Anything above is obviously a higher cost of living area. Anything below is a lower cost of living area. So for example, an expensive, we'll say LA in California, is probably well above 100%. It's probably 200 times or 200% of what the national average is, maybe even more than 2 times. So go look at that so you have an idea of what kind of salary range you should be expecting if you move to a certain city. Am I married? No, I'm not married. Do you have kids? No, I don't have kids. I enjoy kids. They're fun, but I don't have any kids right now. I might not ever have them. I don't know at this point. I'm kind of open to having them or not having them. It doesn't matter. Do you have a girlfriend? No, I don't have a girlfriend at this point in time. You never know though. I'm always dating and going out on dates with women to potentially find someone that I want to spend a lot of time with. That's my thing right now, or my issue, I guess, is finding the right girl that I actually want to spend time with, because I haven't really found that girl at this point in time. And you know, so I'm always looking for her, and I'm not getting bummed out by being single and not finding her yet. I'm the kind of person where I've learned to be happy alone, and I also know how to be happy in a relationship. So I'm not one of those people that has to be in a relationship all the time. I think that's not very good from an individual perspective or from a relationship perspective when you get into a relationship with a significant other. Largest gain or gains if you own stocks, bonds, mutual funds you've had, and what was the story behind it? So not counting any retirement stuff, but my largest gain in a short period of time was when I bought my first stock, individual stock. It was back 2009 when I didn't really know what the heck I was doing. It wasn't very smart of me to do what I did, but I ended up coming out ahead because, of course, we've been on the longest bull run, and I bought when the market was at its lowest point. I bought a stock called Textron, T-E-X-T-R-O-N. It's like a conglomerate, if you will. So it's like a holding company that owns a bunch of different companies. I think one is a golf cart company, and another one is Cessna Planes. I think they own Cessna Planes and some other ones. I just bought it because I don't even know, and I didn't have any rhyme or reason. It was kind of stupid because I could have lost just as much money, but I sold it after a year because I knew that I didn't want to sell it within a 12-month period, because I don't want to pay the capital gains tax, the highest rate of capital gains taxes. So I waited till after a year, and I think I made a couple $1,000s, but I would never do that again without actually thinking about my decision. Don't do that, folks. That was dumb. I just got lucky. What are you willing to splurge on that others might think is ridiculous? I've got two that I don't know if people will think it's ridiculous or not, but I would assume that there's some people out there that probably would. The first one is education. I spend thousands of dollars every year on continued education, and that's online courses, that's books. I go out of my way to buy books and buy online courses that cost money so that I can continue gaining knowledge. I think that's very important as we get older, is making sure that you're always learning and trying to improve yourself. That's huge. I mean, there's a lot of millionaires and billionaires out there who are always working on continued education and self-development. There's a reason. You know, they don't want to stay stagnant and be the kind of people that just go home and watch television all day or all night after they get off work and do nothing with their life. You know, they want to make sure that they're continuing to push the limits for themselves. So education is huge for me. The second, I splurge on spending money on people who have made an impact on me. Now, let me explain so you understand what that means. Going back to the book thing, if there's an author that's really impacted my life or changed my life, I am more than happy to spend money on their books. I know I can go to the library and rent it for free, but I would rather support them by buying their books. Another way is if some of the people who have really impacted my life, or who I firmly believe are making the world a better place for the future, I will invest if they have I will contribute to like a monthly subscription plan that they have. One person is an author and a podcaster who has a meditation app, and then he also has a Patreon, or not Patreon, but you could donate to him every month. I do that every month for a handful of people because I really believe in these people, and I want to make sure that I'm supporting them so that they can continue to do this awesome work and put out more content that is helping me improve myself. What is your career field? So I actually still work in the same career field that I got my degree in. My degree is in supply chain and operations management. Fun fact, you want to know how I picked that degree? I basically did this. Saw which way the wind was blowing. Seriously, I didn't even know what supply chain and operations management was when I picked that degree. I just thought the name sounded cool, and I kind of lucked out. and I enjoy what I do a lot. Supply chain is essentially the movement of a product, right? Getting a product to the customer and the whole process of getting a product to a customer. So for example, here is an iPhone. We'll say that an iPhone is what you want to buy. Well, how does this iPhone get to you? And not just how does it get to you, but how does it get assembled and put together so that it can be sent to you to buy it? In this case, that's what the supply chain takes care of. From creating this screen, right? This hard screen and the raw materials that come in that go into making this screen and creating it and planning for those raw materials, to planning and forecasting and manufacturing this phone. So taking all of the pieces and parts that go into this phone and assembling it that way that we can transport it to the store so that you can buy it. Supply chain also has to do with inventory as well, because there's two ways to get this phone after it's made. It can either sit on a shelf waiting for you to buy it from a store, like we'll say Best Buy, or it can sit in a warehouse. So inventory management has to do with the supply chain as well, and making sure that you don't have too much inventory just sitting around, because it costs money for inventory to be held in warehouses. And yeah, that's kind of the whole planning process, forecasting, manufacturing, transportation, and that's kind of the whole field that I work in. And I've done jobs in all of those different areas over the many years that I've been working in this field. Who do I work for? Who is my employer? I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to. But it's a well-known company. It's been around for over 100 years. If you heard the name, I guarantee 99% of you would recognize that company. You basically, you see their product, or you see our product on the road. I'll just say that, on the road every single day. You just don't realize it. Hint, hint, it's not a car company. Rent or buy? I love this question a lot. I think both. I think it just depends on your specific situation. It's important to run the numbers to make sure it works for you. Everyone wants to buy a house and live the American dream, because they think that's the American dream, but it's not always the American dream. Sometimes it makes sense to just rent based on how much you have on hand, how much cash you have on hand on a regular basis, or the lifestyle that you want to live. A home purchase is something you really have to think about, because it's not just the mortgage that you're paying for. You're paying for the upkeep in the yard, the upkeep in the house. That costs money, or it's going to cost your time. I just hate seeing people buy homes and ending up spending so much more money than they realized they were going to. And then that really exciting time, that really exciting purchase turns into a nightmare. It turns into a burden that straps you down when it comes to your cash, and you don't have any more money left over because you're like, oh, I didn't plan for this when it comes to buying a house, or this when it comes to buying a house. I always tell people, if you're gonna buy a house, if you can't afford 1.5 times the mortgage every single month and still feel comfortable financially, then don't buy the house. For example, if your mortgage payment is $500 per month, I would say if you can't afford $750 per month, then don't buy the house. Because you gotta think, when you buy a house, like I said, there's normal upkeep, there's normal maintenance that has to be done in the house, outside of the house, around the house, outside on the house, and you have to set money aside every single month. Back to my example, if you buy a house where the mortgage is $500 a month, you should be setting about $250 aside every single month for those future repairs and upkeep that might pop up. Because you don't want to base your numbers essentially on just being able to pay the mortgage, because it's way more than that. You also have to furnish the house, which costs money. If you want to buy a house the smart way, here's what Uncle Jarrad would suggest to do. Only buy homes with the main purpose of eventually turning it into a rental property. And I'm not talking hoping for appreciation. Forget appreciation. If you buy a house, you have to run the numbers like eventually you're going to rent it out, and make sure that it's going to cash flow for you, especially if it's your first house ever, because you're most likely not going to live in that house forever. It's very unlikely that you're going to live in that house forever. You also have to make sure that you're going to be committed to living in that spot for I would say at least 5 years to make sure that you recoup some of your expenses from the initial purchase. Do you have any problems fitting into your social circles due to wanting to be frugal and everyone else being YOLO? I'm very fortunate to where I've had the same friends for the past 20 years, since grade school, and everyone is pretty low-key. No one's real flashy, so I'm very fortunate in that case. But if you are someone who has friends that just love spending money, I think you have to do two things. A, I would find another group of friends that have more of the goals that align with yours when it comes to finances. And number two, don't get rid of those friends that spend like crazy. You can still hang out with them, but you have to set up your own boundaries when you're hanging out with those people. Sometimes you might have to explain why you can't spend all of this money like they do. If it's going out to dinner or going out for drinks, maybe have a few less drinks than they do. Maybe eat before you go out to eat with them. That way you can just go spend time with your friends. Spending time with your friends shouldn't be based around money, but it's up to you to take ownership of your own life and your own finances and decide what is going to be the best decision for yourself if you want to hang out with these people. Just explain yourself, explain why you're doing what you're doing, so they don't just assume that, oh, you don't want to come hang out with us. Okay, I guess we're not friends anymore. You don't want to be friends with us. You're like, no, it's just I don't have the money right now. So explain yourself so they understand. If they're really good friends, then they will understand. If not, then there's nothing you can do about it. Find new friends. Let's end with a really deep one. Prepare yourself. What or who motivates you? There's two people that motivate me. The first one is my mom. And that is because she was a single woman, single mom, raising 4 kids on her own when I was younger. So I saw her working really hard and trying to give us as much as she possibly could, even though it wasn't very much. But she gave us, you know, the basics: food, shelter, clothes on our back, and a warm home. She motivates me, and just watching seeing all of the hard work that she put in kind of rubbed off on me as I'm older, because we were very poor. We were on food stamps, welfare. I'm basically a child of the system, if you will, because we took out we had government assistance to help us through those tough times. So food stamps, welfare, canned food drive recipients, in and out of battered women's shelters, but it's made me a better person in the end. The second reason my mom motivates me is because she has a genetic disease. It's called Huntington's disease. It's essentially where her mind just is slowly going. Her mechanics and movements physically are not all there. She's kind of all over the place, and she forgets a lot. So she's in a nursing home right now, and just seeing how much she struggles just to go through her daily life and think and talk and move, it motivates me to make sure that I'm not taking advantage of this life that I currently have, especially because I'm a healthy individual. I can talk, I can think, I can move. She motivates me to just make sure that I'm doing my best to do the things that I'm able to do and not take advantage of the gifts I've been given, even if it's a gift that everyone should have the right to have, which is a clear thinking mind, speech, movement. The second thing that motivates me is another bad thing, but I've found the silver lining in the whole situation, and it's made me a better person in the end. The second person who motivates me is my little brother. So a lot of you don't know, but my little brother suddenly passed away at the age of 19, 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now, and he passed away of a drug overdose. He was, I'm an open book, so I'll tell you anything any questions you have about it, but he died of a drug overdose. He was doing some cocaine that he didn't know was laced with fentanyl, and he died because of it. Just knowing that someone like him, who was so young and had so much potential, doesn't have a chance to live this life that you and I are able to anymore, motivates me. It motivates me to make sure that I'm squeezing the most out of life as I possibly can. So I think about him a lot. He's the only pictures that I have in my house, because, you know, I look and I think, it's crazy when you look at the pictures, because it's still nuts to think, like, oh my gosh, he's gone. Like, he's gone. He's gone. Like, he didn't just go on vacation and he's gonna come back. Like, he went on vacation and he's never coming back, unfortunately. So he really motivates me, especially, man, he had so much potential. He was so athletic, and I grew up not being athletic my whole life. And he was taller than me. He was a really good looking kid. He had more money than me, go figure, because he inherited some money that I didn't inherit. But that's another story that I might tell. That's a funny story. But anyways, he motivates me a lot, or his death motivates me to make sure that I'm just continuing to live my life and do my best in this world while I'm here and trying to make the best and biggest impact on my little group of people. I know I won't be able to change the whole world, but I can possibly change my little world, if you will. And I would consider you all who watch my videos a part of my little world. I hope that I can help you in some way that motivates you and inspires you to go out there and do things on your own to improve your own lives. And then hopefully there's a wildfire effect where you do the same thing to the people in your life and they change their lives. And I think this thing kind of spreads. I think that this is how this whole life thing works, is we've got to inspire each other and help each other to push ourselves forward, to improve our lives, our finances, our personal lives, our professional lives, and just make ourselves better and make the other people around us better. We've got to lift the boats together, because it's not just me and it's not just you, it's us together. I don't know why I'm going on this spiel, I'm sorry. But yeah, so that's what motivates me, mainly my mom and my little brother.